something that we were talking about earlier, and I wanted to circle back on, was leveraging data in an ERP is not at all at parity with leveraging data in an order management system. So what are some of the challenges that the businesses are trying to address right now, and how are they going to be able to get started to get onboarded into this transformation journey?
ERP is an interesting one because the traditional ERP vendors are certainly trying to take this on as a challenge in terms of developing their product and sort of building it out. But the complexities of the market are moving, and the speed of movement in the market makes it very difficult to keep up. So there's sort of the expertise you need around order management and having that insight across available to promise and be able to handle across multi-channel is an enormously complex and rapidly moving environment. So specialist expertise is often very helpful to be able to do that. And whether the ERP vendors, traditional ERP vendors, will be able to meet the expectations of the market longer term, is something that we'll continue to research. But it's definitely it's an interesting space to look at, and obviously you guys have your own perspective on that.
Yeah. Yes, there is a huge opportunity for order management. And if you ask me, as big ERP companies, are they thinking about it? Yes, absolutely, they're thinking about it. Do they see the opportunity? They are seeing the opportunity. So what they're doing is, traditional ERP platforms, they're building modules, which is order management modules to sit on top of those foundational. So what they're losing, in fact, and they're trying to market it to the companies, saying, we do have an order management module. But then where they miss the game is the underlying foundation is the same foundation, right? The scalability, the flexibility that you need to drive the customer changing expectation, the market changing, demands and all that stuff. You have to catch up with that. And for that, you really need a flexible system to cater to your needs, to make sure that you're executing on your forward vision, your forward-looking vision, right? ERPs are not natively meant to do order management kind of stuff. They are not natively built to do omnichannel. When it comes to flexibility, scalability, they are not yet there. What is happening in the industry today is a B2B company or a manufacturer has some sort of a ERP system, whether it's Oracle or SAP or homegrown ERP and all that. The way they are kind of thinking through this, okay, and the kind of way they have thought through that in the past is, I have an ERP system. My ERP does forecasting, planning. My ERP does financial, modules like AR, AP, GL. Why not customize this ERP to do order management kind of work? Okay, and that's where the big mistake is. Shouldn't be thinking that way, right? So going back to the best of breed is you should think about how a best of the breed platform can supplement the capability that ERP has, rather than trying to customize it and then your customization cycle, basically those projects become 2-year projects. By the time you miss the boat, because the markets are changing very rapidly, right? 2 years you are trying to cater to some requirement, which is now an old thing in the past, right? The second is, you lose upgradability. So that's why you will hear in the market, oh, we are going through a huge ERP upgrade. 2 years, 18 months, 12 months. That's where you cause a lot of problems. You shouldn't be doing that. Don't customize. Try to make your business more configurable. Try to make sure that your platforms can configure to sell or to meet your requirements, rather than customizing it to that, and then you're going to fall prey into that.
Well, speed and agility is definitely a key factor here, right? So companies need to be able to move fast. A colleague of mine, George Laurie, talks about building digital control towers, right? So looking at these applications like digital control towers, a bit like the sort of the control tower in an airport, you need to be able to coordinating a lot of different moving parts, and in order to be able to fulfill the customer expectations. And so being able to put those components in place very quickly and in a way that allows you to change them out and evolve them very quickly, depending on what kind of interface you have. I mean, a lot of research being done right now around headless commerce because of the flexibility that it brings to be able to adapt to different kind of engagements, different kind of digital experiences with customers. So all of these components are moving very quickly. So agility and flexibility really, I think, was kind of where we started the conversation. But it's like this is so key to the future of business. A lot of people underestimate what the value of that.
Yeah, and it circles back to the architecture, which you aren't going to be making when you're doing a homegrown system. It's just simply not
Absolutely.
something companies can achieve.
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely.
Yeah, and again, we've talked about a number of channels with this, but again, when you think about those, again, best-of-breed systems, was an ERP truly meant to be extended to a self-service B2B portal? Was it really meant to be extended to be hit at scale by customer call center representatives? Was it really meant to be hit at scale from a volume perspective from hundreds, maybe even thousands of manufacturing or branded representatives out on the field trying to sell to and service, right, a B2B account? Likely not, right? So now if you can extract that, again, put it in this application layer we've been suggesting here with order management, that is a best-of-breed trend that we've seen just to allow this flexibility that we've been alluding to.
Yeah, and let alone the integration side of the capability, right? I mean, we all know ERPs. Yes, the new cloud ERPs are coming up with more robust or more flexible integration methods, but really, it's back in the days, if you actually, or even now, if you try to integrate with an ERP, it's going to take you more time, and sometimes things are not possible. Like, you have to go and pull the data. In some of the ERPs will say, oh, we don't push data. You have to go and pull it. Now you're working with technologies where you're doing SQL injections. Absolutely, bad. It creates a risk for your security and compliance. You shouldn't be doing that, right? So that's when the best of the breed, newer order management platforms, which has a more SOA-based architecture, open architecture, they can integrate with any systems, whatever they can talk, XMLs, flat files, FTP, whatever they can talk, the way they can integrate is a big phenomenon that we are seeing as well.
Well, I'm not a technology analyst, so I'll preface this comment with that, and you guys can interject here. But my perspective is, at least if you look at the latest iterations of the ERP platforms that are designed for cloud, containerized, API-driven, one of the advantages of that is actually the flexibility of that architecture, that it allows me to swap best-of-breed components in and out, and use that still as an underlying kind of way of operating the business, but still layer on top the best-of-breed components to be able to deliver the right kind of experiences to customers. And it kind of seems to be a win-win. I don't know what your perspective on that is, but that's kind of how I'm interpreting it.
That's right. That's right.
Yeah.
That best-of-breed approach where there are open architectures, API-driven approach to these type of things. That's right, because when we talk about these abstraction layers in an order management system, listen, it's doing the orchestration and organizing. It's the heart of a lot of the ways that you're selling and servicing your products and services to your end customer. But listen, it needs to interface. It does. And so that's why we talk about flexibility initially with the options that are given in a cloud deployment. Couple that with some of these architectural approaches, Nigel, that you just surfaced. Yeah, fundamental to a successful just digital transformation that can utilize some of these order management capabilities.
Yeah, and if I maybe take a couple of more minutes to kind of talk about, we are just not talking about order management or ERP. It's the whole gamut of things, right? How the customer wants to digitize their end-to-end supply chain. There comes the concept of, or the the other technologies that they need to look at, the integration strategy. Integration layer, a lot of the companies, they're missing that layer. It's very important. Marketing stack, whether it's Mercado, Google, or Adobe, whatever not, right? They need to look at data warehouse. At the end of the day, how do I utilize that data? How do I house all the data in a single repository, and how do I utilize to do several things is very important.